Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to SeahawkTalk here on the Salve Athletics Network. I'm your host, Andy Pizzelli, coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, through Twitter. We are live every single day, 3 to 4 p.m. on those platforms. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so that you can never miss a show. We've got a great one lined up for you here today. We'll be joined by Kevin Gilmartin, Sebastian Nordsey, and Craig O'Rourke II. Can't wait to talk to them and to our producers, but first, like always, we want to remind you to keep your distance. That is Ed Habershaw with his rendition of Keep Your Distance from the Shake, a Rhode Island-based band with a message that we can apply worldwide. Mask wearing, social distancing, hand washing, all those very simple things. We've heard all about them for plenty of time now, but we're going to continue to remind everybody to do all of those simple and easy things as often as they can. I want to bring in the producers now, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco. Fellas, how are we doing here on a Thursday?
Doing pretty good today. Looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, me too. Thursday? I don't know what day of the week it is anymore.
Like I said,
Joey's
the days are long, but the weeks are fast somehow. I can't. It's December.
That's
what
what it is.
3rd today, right? December 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, December. I don't know how that happened, but that's where we are.
That's what it is. You're right. The days are fast, or the days are short. The weeks are whatever you said.
I think the fact that you can't get it straight illustrates the point.
I feel like we just virtually met you, Andrew, like a couple weeks ago, and now it's almost done. We're going to have to meet in person at some point, or meet back up in person at some point, because I don't think I've seen you since the last baseball season.
No.
In that last game, probably. That last game versus Johnson and Wales, I believe it was.
March 11th. That's the last time I saw many people in public. We were talking to Matt Finlayson about that. March 11th was the last time we had seen each other in person. Same with Dan Parks. I was with them for men's lacrosse, their final game. And it's like, oh my God, it's been insane how long it's been. Like Joey, I met you through this. We have not actually. I think about that. I was like, me and Joey have not actually ever met in person. But anyway, it's the world we live in now. So, what do you guys have here to lead off today's programming?
I got kind of a topical story now that Thanksgiving's over, and we can fully just go into talking about Christmas. Here are some tips for transporting your Christmas tree safely, because I know a lot of people will only tie down with like one bungee cord, and I've been stuck behind enough things with enough trucks with trees sticking out the back and ladders.
Bungee cord?
One bungee cord, Joey. So here are some tips you can do to avoid that. So the top thing, obviously, drive slow and take back roads if you can to avoid other people. And also drive slow, not just because driving fast is obviously innately dangerous, but because it can also damage your tree with the if you're driving fast and you have all the wind going over it. So drive slow and take back roads to avoid more cars.
Also, drive a real car, not a wooden one.
Yeah, try not to drive a wooden car like this. With I don't even think those are those wheels are wooden. So yeah, this would not work. This car was a tree at first, and then it fastled down into a car. So, and then also, if you do have a real one, this one's only secured at the bottom. You can see you're going to want to secure that at the bottom, middle, and top, according to this article, not just in that one area. So that's kind of a false picture right there. But yeah, secure in all 3 spots with 3 ropes, not just one. And avoid using twine. I know they offer something there. Don't use that. Try to bring your own ropes or bungee cords. Also, cover the roof with a blanket so you're not damaging that top part of your car with a bunch of scratches from all the pine needles and what have you. And then have it wrapped in netting also so branches don't fall off. Yeah, and also if you don't have a large vehicle, you probably just should try to put it inside. And if you can't fit it inside, you probably shouldn't be transporting the tree. So try to just find or borrow a pickup truck from a friend or something. But those are your tips for transporting your Christmas tree safely.
That is not what I thought that picture was when I saw the preview. Like I could not
Right.
figure out what I was looking at.
So
Options are low.
Where do you guys fall? Real tree or fake tree? What's your preference?
Oh, well, preference is real tree, but I've never, had that application to go out and get a real tree. Maybe now that I have my own kind of space.
I used to have real trees, and then we're like, okay, this is too much, and so we're fake tree now. And there I go. I saw my camera light go out, and then I had just enough time to react.
You have angered the tree gods.
Yeah, apparently it's not very happy. But no, I have a fake tree. My fake tree is like okay, it's like a basic one, but I just put up my grandma's tree yesterday, and we got her last year for Christmas. This awesome one that has like lights built in and all that jazz, and it's super cool. And when we put it together, I realized it was super fast because I didn't have to plug anything in because like all the lights are already plugged into the center. So if you get like a really nice fake tree, but like if you can't get a real tree because it is kind of cool. It's very sticky though. I remember that.
I did see. So I prefer the real tree. It's harder to since I've lived in my own apartment now. I've gotten a real tree for the main tree once. I'll usually go and get like a little tiny real tree, like whatever. Like I'll go like 2 days before Christmas and say like, hey, do you have like a top of a tree that you've had to cut off or somebody just lying around? And I'll go and I'll put that on my porch.
Charlie Brown tree.
Yeah, no, and put that outside. But prefer the real tree. I do have the fake tree, same deal, Joey. It's got the lights in it already, which is nice.
Yeah,
I have seen, I'm interested when I decide to get rid of this current fake tree. I guess now they have the fake tree with the lights already in it. You pay a little bit more. It's about $50-$60. But the lights, you can connect it with an app on your phone, and it comes with like preset like light show type things you can do. Like the lights will flash in all sorts of different colors, different patterns. You can like draw on it and make it do your own like custom light pattern. Oh yeah,
that's
really
wild,
cool.
yeah.
I'm thinking about maybe this year the fake tree gets broken while we're putting it away, and we need a new one next year.
We have like it's like a little remote control. You got like like a couple options. Like that's pretty cool. I love the like drawing with lights stuff you can do.
Yeah. What's the worst, back to like this, the safe tree transporting, what's the worst tree transportation situation you guys have ever seen? If you can think of one.
Oh, if I can think of one. I don't know if I can think of one from my own personal experience. I remember in that 70s show one time that I don't think this is a good idea. They took one off the side of the highway and then tried to transport it back. So maybe don't do that. Yeah, maybe don't cut a tree down and take it. Just go buy one. But yeah, I don't think I have any personal stories of tree transportation.
Yeah, I, for whatever reason, was never brought to go get a real tree. It must have been I can't imagine that we transported inside the car, so it's not like there was no space for me. But it would just show up, and it would be like, all right. I usually never had to help. It was always like, okay, move stuff out of the way so that we can get the tree in. And like I would have to be in charge of that, and then usually also like picking up the pine needles all over the floor. It's like you're too small to help for real, so you're gonna pick up the pine needles. Oh my god!
The worst one I've ever seen was I was driving on 95. I was coming home, and I had been on the road for a while. I was pretty tired, so I was just trying to get home. And this guy comes on the highway, merges in front of me, and he's got the Christmas tree on the top of a sedan. And he's basically got it tied down the way this guy does in this picture to this wooden car, because the tree was just on top of the car, flopping. Like going up and down, like bouncing. One, I was like, does this guy not hear this? Is he just like blasting heavy metal to ignore the sound of the car, the tree banging the top of his car? And so I was like, I know I want to get home right now. I'm going to pull off and wait for him a little bit and let this guy get way down. I'm going to stop and get a coffee. Let this guy get down the highway. Because I was waiting for this thing to just finally like flip all the way and then just come sailing right off the car. So that's probably the worst one. There's also, you see like the guy, with his arm out, trying to also hold it down too. Usually those are always not going to end well. I'm only going a mile. I'll try and hold it.
Oh god.
Those are the all timers. So
never tied a tree to a car, but I realized it was probably similar to kayaks. Kayaks are a pain to get on.
At first, I'm trying to think like, what else would you be tying to the roof of a car?
No, yeah, kayaks. My mom's kayaks. That's always an event. I'm sure it's similar to. It is similar to the tree. You gotta connect the back and the front and then the middle.
Yep.
And so that they don't go anywhere. So
exactly.
Another fun tree transportation story. I was one time with my brother Ralphie. He really wanted a Red Ryder BB gun that Christmas. So we were transporting the tree back, and we got pulled over on the side of the road because the tire popped, and he let that word slip out when he dropped all the bolts onto the snow. What am I referencing right now?
Christmas
If
story.
you can guess, if you can guess, I was gonna say, if you can guess and you put in the comments, it's
Oh,
only on 24.
fudge.
Yeah, it's only
But I
on
didn't
24
say
hours.
fudge. I
No, he
said
did
the
not.
F blank 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 word.
Now that I actually think, I can't even remember. What was the brother's name in that anyway? All I remember is Ralphie.
I'm not
Maybe
sure.
we'll have to look into that. And also, we'll show this at the end. What we were talking
Randy.
about beforehand with Randy and the leg lamp. We'll show you something at the end with having to do with that. A cool story out of I think Oklahoma.
Big market tease there.
Yeah,
So.
big tease.
All right. Well, fellas, great stuff. I'll let you guys get to work producing the show, and we'll get along to our first guest and talk to you again at the end of the program.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right, that is Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. We're going to get to our first guest here on a Thursday, the head coach of our football team, Kevin Gilmartin. Kevin, how you doing?
Excellent. Enjoyed listening to you guys talking about holiday stuff. Get me a little excited for the holidays.
I'm looking here in the comment section. I think you do indeed also have a bad transportation tree story. If you want to share that.
Not mine personally, but my brother's father-in-law, Grafton Reeves. Guy's a genius. He's a doctor. He went to Yale. I mean, he picked out a tree, went and tied it on top of his car, and then went shopping. And then when he came back out from going shopping, he looked at his car and the tree wasn't there. And went to the guy, that he's like, did you see somebody take my tree? And the guy's like, I thought you drove off. And he's like, no, my car's right there. And the guy's like, well, we tied it to that car that was over there. And so they tied it to the wrong car. And then some person showed up at their car and had a tree on top of it. So
they didn't question it at all. They were just like, cool.
Merry Christmas.
Quick, leave. Daryl, leave before somebody asks any questions.
Right. They got a free gift. Another Christmas miracle.
The free tree. Kevin, I wanted to get your thoughts on something that was kind of interesting. So yesterday, we talked about this on the show, and for those that maybe didn't see yesterday, the NFL played a game at 3:40 p.m., like a JV football game time. I wondered if the assistant coaches were coaching for the Ravens and Steelers, because that's what it felt like. Did you get a chance to watch any of that? And is it weird to watch 3 o'clock football on a Wednesday?
First off, I thought it was great that the NFL did that. I mean, they're being creative. They're trying to be safe. And so if people aren't ready to play on Sunday, we'll bump it back a day, maybe 2 days, whatever it is. So I thought it was awesome that they did that. And then as a fan, I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, got extra time to watch football. Usually football is just Saturday, Sunday, sometimes Monday nights, but now you got some extras on Tuesday, and then, usually like in the NCAA, you have like a pack after dark. So you get the late night Saturday night game. And then sometimes you have the MAC games on Tuesdays. But to have an NFL game on a Tuesday afternoon, that was great. I'm on board with that. So if they want to do that, more free time for me to watch football games. Definitely, let's keep that rolling.
Yeah, when they play on Christmas Day this year, they're scheduled to play. I think it's Vikings Cowboys are scheduled on Christmas Day on a Friday. This season will be the first season they've played on every day of the week in league history, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Now,
so Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tying this into you guys, is there a possibility that you guys with a spring season could have games played at odd times on odd days, and how are you preparing for that?
Yeah, what they're trying to do is, in the plan is they're thinking football we're going to play on Friday nights. We're going to go back to Friday night lights, but it's going to be spring Friday night lights. So hopefully it'll be beautiful warm weather out there for us. But the reasoning is because you're going to have soccer is going to be sometimes trying to get on the field. Lacrosse will get on the field. Softball for us because we share the field with softball. But if football has a game, it really becomes 8 hours of blocking off the field time because it's just so much. And so if we play on Friday nights, then everybody else can get in their weekend, Saturday and Sunday games. And so the plan is for Friday nights, but just like the NFL was creative, I'm fine with us as a CCC conference being creative, just to try to get the games in, and any opportunities to let the kids play. And as long as we're all safe, then let's get out there. Who cares if it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday? at Copa Field in a parking lot. Who cares? Let's go play football.
That's what I figured your answer was going to be. It doesn't matter when, doesn't matter where. 1 a.m. on a Tuesday out, in a parking lot, you guys would be there.
Absolutely. Any chance to play, me, I'm on board with that.
Another interesting kind of thing, and we can tie this into you guys as well. The Denver Broncos had their quarterback room hit by COVID. Every single person was exposed. They were all ineligible to play in their game. So they had to bring up a practice squad wide receiver and make him basically like the Wildcat quarterback.
Yeah.
It didn't go so well for him, which is unfortunate. I was kind of excited to see like everybody's doubting them, and I'd want this guy to like go and actually play really well. Tough spot to ask. Don't practice. Come up, be an NFL quarterback. How much time do you guys spend thinking about those emergency type of situations normally? Hey, if all our quarterbacks go down, who's QB? If we lose our long snapper, if we lose our kicker in a game, how much time do you guys in a normal season spend thinking about those things?
Absolutely. You do so much of it just because of, how many people do you have in the depth chart that can run through it? But then where's your best options in every position too? I mean, even during like specialists, you're watching the long snappers, you're ranking them out to make sure in case something happens so that, the best long snapper's ready, the best holder's ready, and so you're constantly adjusting on that. Sometimes in away games and you can't take everybody to the game, you're debating about that in the coaches meeting rooms about, all right, if we take this guy, we only have these as the backups at this position. So it's constantly being debated about. The crazy thing was this year, with COVID coming out, when we were still, thinking about playing in the fall, we were talking about that, how to break up the pods, the meeting rooms, practices, so that if something, does happen where somebody does catch it, who are the people that are going to be contagious of it? Do you keep D linemen apart to make sure like you can, still have D linemen out on the field?
Yeah.
Or do you just become creative where, let's say, like if you lost linebackers, you go with, 6 D linemen and 5 DBs. So it's definitely something that you're constantly creating as a coach. You have to be flexible. And, you want to have the best 11 players out on the football field. They don't have to be, offensive linemen, 5 offensive linemen, 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers. You can be flexible. And so, we've done it where you can put 2 running backs in the backfield instead of a quarterback, but you have to practice and rep things. And that's why that, have that kid step in and play like he did, it doesn't bode well for him. It doesn't look great, but for him to be able to do that is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it was just truly impressive for him to step in and do that. I thought it was as commendable by him to do it. And, I was watching it just to see how he was doing, and you can tell he was definitely rusty as a quarterback, but it was pretty awesome to see somebody just jump in and try it.
Yeah. When things like that come up in a game, instead of having a week to plan and who's in, who's out, and it just comes up in a game, like say you lose both your long snappers, do you just start asking guys like, hey, can you snap? Hey, does anybody know how to snap? Like you just, has that ever happened to you ever in your coaching career where a coach was just like asking guys, hey, who can kick? Like, can somebody just please?
I don't think it's ever happened like on the field. Like normally, like if we got injuries and that kind of things that you're kind of prepared, so what's going to happen in your head if it's ever down to it. I mean, we as coaches, we tend to look at things 19, 20 times over. So we kind of already know the list of where everybody's going to be. But we've definitely done it on a Tuesday, saying, hey, who else can kick here? Let's have kicking tryouts after practice, or long snapping, or any of those things, just to make sure we were doing that. But actually, a funny story. My freshman year of when I was a player, we went through 3 quarterbacks, and we only had 1 guy left, and then we brought in a baseball player to practice with us, just so that we can practice. And then we had our backups were a couple of different options at quarterback. And so it was pretty wild. And that was an undefeated football season going into the final game of the season. And, so if that last quarterback went out, we were going to be rotating people. So all coaches prepare it, but they always want to be on the right side of the fence on that. But in that situation, my freshman year, we definitely went undefeated that year. So it worked out for us that year.
Yeah, one of the other interesting things, and obviously this couldn't happen in college, but in the professional levels, they tried. A lot of times there's assistant coaches. The Patriots, their GM, Nick Caserio, or assistant GM, pro personnel person, he was a former quarterback. He'll go out and help out the team during practice and be like scout team quarterback. the
Right.
Broncos were trying to get some of their assistant coaches to they're asking the league, hey, can these guys sign contracts so we can play them? I think that's a pretty incredible when that sort of stuff happens.
One of the quality control coaches was, I think, like a couple of years out, and he was coaching for the Broncos, I think, for 2 years, so he knew the offense. So they felt that he would have been the best selection for them as quarterback. But NFL was afraid to do it because of they didn't want to put him out there because they were worried that NFL teams would start signing players into assistant coaches positions just to kind of hold them on the side. So you see both sides of it, but I was kind of hoping they'd make the exception for COVID this year, but they had to make a business decision.
Well, it's like back in it was before PC, pre-COVID. It was back in January. There was a guy who was the Zamboni driver for the Senators who got signed to be the Maple Leafs goalie for a day. It was unbelievable, and he got the win. He made 3 saves. It was unbelievable. Those stories are always awesome. You dream about that deep down, somewhere. Everybody does. Hey, 40-year-old me is gonna get signed as a wide receiver. They're gonna need somebody. Hey, if the Patriots keep tanking, maybe in 10 years they'll have open tryouts again.
No, but that's why you got to stay close to a team, just in case that happens. You can be ready. You can get the call back. Keep stretching.
Yes, stretch, very important. Kevin, great seeing you. Glad you're doing well, and can't wait to catch up with you again next week. Thank you for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Good seeing you. Be safe.
Thank you. Take it easy. That's Kevin Gilmartin, the head coach of our football team. We're going to go now to the head coach of our women's volleyball team, Sebastian Nordzi. Sebastian, how you doing?
Doing well, Pez. How are you?
Good. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was very relaxed, very low key. It was definitely a much different Thanksgiving than I'm usually used to, but wasn't necessarily better or worse, just definitely quieter.
Yeah. Where do you fall on the free real debate that we were having earlier on in the show?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I cut out.
Where do you fall on the fake tree, real tree debate that we were having earlier on?
Oh, I'm definitely a real tree type person. I just love the activity of going out and finding a Christmas tree, cutting it down, getting some hot chocolate after because it's freezing cold out now. And then it's walking into a house with that nice fresh pine smell. Oh my God. I'm so excited with the Christmas spirit right now.
Yeah, I do love it too. The problem is with the fake tree now, I just have to buy the giant Yankee candle, like balsam pine scent, and just burn that for an hour to get the same effect.
Hey, work smarter, not hotter.
Exactly. One of the things for all our teams now is practice has ramped down and coming to this kind of break period. You guys can focus more on recruiting. For you, will you focus more on recruiting locally in just the New England or even smaller, kind of like the tri-state, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut area, or are you gonna look? You'll be trying to recruit as wide as possible?
So my opinion on the matter is I try to recruit as wide as possible because I think if you're a good player, it doesn't really matter what state you're coming from. Obviously, some states have more awesome volleyball players, but if there's a great player from the middle of who knows where and they're interested in Salve and they can make our team better, I'm all for it. If that comes from all New England region area, sure, awesome, fine. But I think that there's just so many good players out there that I want to cast that wide net all the way across the country. And that'll just expose everyone else to Salve and the beauty that is here. I always tell recruits that we live in such a cool little corner of the world with Newport and so close to Providence, Boston, New York City, that I want to expose people to Newport.
Yeah. What is probably one of the top things you look for in a recruit?
So one of the top things I look for in recruits is just interactions with people. I've seen too many people who roll their eyes at their teammates, roll their eyes at their coaches, and immediately I see those recruits and I'm just like, maybe not. Like if they're doing that to their club coach or their teammates, what are they going to do here at Salve? So I always look for, positive attitudes, always trying to get the best out of their teammates, always listen to their coaches, being coachable, and really just working on their game the best as possible. You don't always find yourself on the best team all the time, but that doesn't mean you can't be the best player on that team. If you happen to be on a team that stinks, and that happens a lot in high school, some teams are just better than others, then you want to just be within yourself, have awesome attitude going through it, and then coaches will notice you too. I could tell you that I don't really look at records of teams too much. If they're like, hey, we went undefeated and won national championship, okay, you probably got some great players on that team. But if you're a great player on a good team, you're going to get noticed, and I want you on that team as long as you're treating people correctly.
Yeah. What do you see for the team as the needs? You know, you'll have graduating seniors. Some people may come back, but how do you assess, what your needs will be as you recruit?
Yeah, so in terms of needs, we're just looking to shore up some of those position groups. Like setting, we're going to need a few setters, which we have coming in, which is awesome. We're going to try to shore up that middles group a little bit. Try to keep it as competitive and make sure that everyone's a little bit flexible. So if we need to move positions, we're not taking a middle and now all of a sudden we're out of middles. So those are our big hits. We are looking for different position groups too. Like if someone's a libero and they want to come in and they're awesome, sure, great, let's recruit them. Same thing with the outside hitting position. If they come in and they're studs, yeah, if they make our team better, great.
Yeah. So this question actually comes from a listener. This comes from Sam, who wants to know, given how COVID has interrupted things, do established coaches have an advantage right now with their networking and affiliations, or are you comfortable with where you are for recruiting as a new coach?
Yeah, so I'm not sure about established coaches because they have this whole new learning thing that they have to do because they have their set ways and now they have to do it a little bit different because of this whole COVID situation. But me personally, I'm very comfortable with where I'm at in coaching and recruiting because I do have connections with people and clubs and other coaches, as well as everything's online now. So it's very easy for me to reach out to student athletes, and it's very easy for the student athletes to send film. And it's very easy to see what a player can do based off their film. So me myself, I'm not in this situation where I'm just like, oh my God, like what am I doing? This is crazy. I'm, very comfortable with what's going on, very comfortable with the recruiting process on my end.
In a weird way, does it not that anything helps, but there's all these kind of like double sides of the coin and flip sides and silver linings that this is your first year as a coach, like to kind of go through all of this whirlwind at once. You're really just kind of prepared for anything, basically, talk about frying pan into the fire, frying pan into a boiler into the fire, and now ready to go.
Yeah, and we talked about like the other side of the coin during that last spring, and I wish I could have had that spring season back for the girls to play, get to know them a little bit earlier. But at the same time, I had so much time for professional development and so much time to get through the recruiting process and learn about it, engage in it, just go full send into it without the distractions of other things. So it's that flip side of the coin. Like, it was kind of yucky and gross about that. But at the same time, like I learned so much and I got so much out of it because I, engaged in the process.
Yeah. What do you remember most from your recruiting process when you were looking for schools? What sticks out?
I didn't do it very well. So I'm a first generation college student. So my parents had no idea about the whole NCAA recruiting process. And I myself wasn't proactive in the process. Kind of wish I was, but at the same time, I had a great college experience. So I just remember waiting for a coach just to pluck me out of nowhere and be like, oh, that kid, I want that kid. And it just never happened. So I always remember that. And like, now that I tell kids like how to be recruited, just got to be proactive, got to email the coaches, got to, put yourself out there. And once you put yourself out there and you're on the radar of different coaches, it's going to be a whole lot easier. So I kind of wish I did that, but at the same time, I had a great experience at the University of Rhode Island, and I don't think I would trade that for anything.
Kids nowadays, though, really have a benefit of all the technology that's available to them, just 10, especially you go back further, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, now every kid can have their own YouTube channel with highlights, and we've all got like highly sophisticated, cameras right here to shoot really good footage. I think about the film I had to work with from playing football in high school. It was shot from 100 yards away with my dad's camcorder. And you can barely tell what's happening. So the kids nowadays really do have an advantage if they want to take that opportunity.
Oh yeah, and I vividly remembered asking my parents for Christmas, be like, "Hey, can I get like some kind of camcorder or something so I can record my matches?" And they got this like $50 thing that, again, could barely see anything. But now with the technology, every kid has an iPhone that can shoot very well. And the best part is you can edit it on your phone. So kids are having their film from their matches and all tournaments, taking that film in the editing software that's on their phone already, making a highlight clip or putting whatever film they want to see and just sending it right out to coaches. It's like I get film an hour after matches sometimes. I'm just like, don't you want to hang out and eat and relax? You're already sending film? That's awesome.
Cool. Hey, Sebastian, thank you so much for taking the time today. Always enjoy chatting with you, and we'll catch up with you again next week.
Always a pleasure. Take care, Pez.
All right, that's Sebastian Nordsee, the head coach of our women's volleyball team. We're going to go now to the head coach of our men's soccer team, Craig O'Rourke II. Craig, how are we doing?
Hey, Andrew. Things are good. How are you?
I got to start first. Are you at all concerned that Arsenal will indeed get relegated this year?
No.
No further analysis?
You asked the question, yes or no. Am I concerned? No, I'm not in the slightest bit concerned. I think, as I said last time, it's been 90 plus years since Arsenal was relegated. They are the longest serving club in the top flight of English football. They will continue to be the longest serving club in the top flight of English football. They will not be down in the championship. Although as I think I shared with you, I am a strong believer that the English football hierarchy should add another tier to the professional ranks. There's the second division, the first division, the championship, and then the premiership in which Arsenal plays. And I genuinely believe that they need a tier between the championship and the premiership. And I've even proposed the name the Fulhamship. And it is for clubs like Fulham, like Norwich, who are better than the championship, but not as good as the premiership.
Yeah.
So I think that Fulham and Norwich could be perennial members of the Fulhamship, and the three clubs to get relegated from the premiership, as well as the three that earn promotion from the championship, could then play in the Fulhamship in an 8-team round robin home and away structure, play their 14 matches, and then maybe, if the FA allows, the three teams other than Fulham and Norwich could then be promoted, and three teams other than Fulham and Norwich could be relegated to the championship. I think that would make the most sense. But no, Arsenal will not be playing in the Fulhamship after this season.
Yeah. Well, because there are those teams, like you said, there's those teams that are at the bottom that kind of like flip-flop. It's like every other year you're bouncing back and forth, and why not create their own league?
Yeah, the name of that club is Fulham.
Yeah.
Okay, Fulham gets promoted, then immediately gets relegated, then gets promoted, then gets relegated, and now has been promoted. So Fulham is up in the Prem. Fulham is currently in the bottom five. They'll, believe me, by season's end, they'll be in the bottom three. They'll get relegated again, third time in 6 years. Norwich might be promoted. I mean, you never know. It's up to Fulham and Norwich. So
what does that do for player salaries? Does that impact at all? Which league you're in?
Yes, it depends on the contract. I mean, certain players may have contracts that requires that they be in the top flight of the domestic league. And if Fulham has signed big name players to attract them to the club and got them to negotiate their wages with Fulham, they may have something in their contract where if Fulham gets relegated, they're allowed to walk on a free. And, again, as an Arsenal supporter, I don't usually see that, but
that must make it hard to break that cycle then. If you've got guys where it's like, well, if we get relegated, I get to leave. How do you break that cycle up? You got to get players to actually want to stay.
Well, it's interesting. I think they did an analysis over the last, it was 4 or 5 seasons in the Premiership. The club that spent of the 3 clubs to gain promotion from Championship to Prem, the club that spends the most during the summer transfer window between the end of their championship season and the start of their Premier League season has then been relegated in like 4 of the last 5 seasons. So it just goes to show you that spending in the summer window sometimes does more harm than good. Yes, you bring in the talent, but the talent may upset the chemistry of the club that then just earned promotion. So, and Fulham was guilty of that twice. But again, interview Dave Cox. He actually admits to being a Fulham supporter. I give him all the credit in the world. I thought most Fulham supporters walked around in witness protection, not wanting to admit to being Fulham supporters, kind of like what your boss, Director Habershaw does with being a Raiders supporter. No one wants to admit to being a Raiders supporter. But, it is what it is. Everyone pledges their allegiance to someone, and God bless them if they do.
Well, I think Ed doesn't necessarily wear it on his sleeve that he's a Raiders fan, but if you ask, he will tell. So it's not a.
It's going to be tough being a Raiders fan because the Raiders just always find a way to disappoint.
I'd rather be a Raiders fan than a Browns fan.
Yeah, that
or a Dolphins fan.
Well, no. See, now as a Dolphins fan myself, I will point out quickly that the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Football Dolphins, still
what other Dolphins are there?
Are the only NFL team in the history of the league to go undefeated and win the Super Bowl, because the New England
14-game season.
Yeah, it was, but you can only play the game that's in front of you. So it's not like they played 14 by choice. It was only 14 back then. So the football team in New England, whatever the name of whatever they're called, they went undefeated. But then they showed up to the Super Bowl against the Giants and laid down and let a truck run over them. So the Dolphins remain the only team to go undefeated.
So are you rooting hard? So then you must be furiously rooting against the Steelers, right? Because the Steelers are 11-0 now.
Mercury Morris and the rest of the 72, 73 Miami Dolphins will pop champagne.
They've been very quiet this year.
Huh?
I'm surprised they haven't made more noise about the Steelers. Usually they're always getting loud around this time. They've been pretty quiet about it. They must not think the Steelers are going to go 16-0.
It's tough to be loud when you're wearing a mask, and everybody right now in the country has been advised by our healthcare providers and officials to wear masks. So even Mercury Morris, I'd like to see the size of the mask covering Mercury Morris's mouth, because that is not easy. Covering that and muting Mercury Morris, because he is one of the most outspoken of the many personalities that made up the 72, 73 Dolphins. But no, the Steelers will lose, champagne will pop, and one of the longest running legacies in pro football, American football, will continue.
I kind of selfishly want the Steelers to go 16-0 and then lose in the Super Bowl. So it can't just be Patriots fans who understand the pain. Somebody else, misery likes company. So anyway, back to more relevant topics. What is your favorite season of coaching? You could go to previous teams, but if you wanted to focus just on Salve, what's been?
I was like, Andrew, I'm a fall coach.
Seasons, years.
You talking about which? So you're asking me which team was my favorite to coach?
Sure, yeah.
God, that's a loaded question. Ed's got a comment. Oh, look at that. That's funny. I don't know. That's tough. There's at least one team that stands out in my mind that lacks the notoriety of the Big Four, the Big Four being 10, 12, 18, and 19. And that's the 09 team. I was updating some recruiting information this week, and the 2009 team has a record that no one talks about. They allowed the fewest goals in a season at 17. And that 09 team, which was upset in a quarterfinal match in Newport by Gordon College, was a very, very good team. They only gave up 17 goals over a 20-game season, and I always wonder if they had gotten past Gordon, the strides and what they could have done in the postseason to go farther and deeper, and they were an enjoyable team to watch. That was a team with a sophomore McAllister, a sophomore Gentian, a junior class that had Jimmy Dean, Billy Carroll, Trevor Ardette, Kenny Johnson. 2010, which frankly just picked up where 09 left off, and 10 was the highest scoring team in school history until 18 and 19 shattered those records, or the second highest scoring. There was a team in the early 90s that had 51 goals. 10 had 50. 12 wasn't supposed to do anything. 12 was the team that, was picked to finish 7th in the conference and just had a pair of senior captains in Brigandy and Ernst that refused to accept that as seniors. And they had a supporting cast of 13 sophomores, the Wise Fools, that helped them propel the club and the program into the NCAAs. 18 will always stick out in my mind as arguably my most talented team. I sat in preseason that year and told Associate Athletic Director Habershaw that, oh my God, the team I have, we're ready to go. Just get me on the field right now. I want to play. I knew 18 was special. And then 19 overcoming the proverbial hangover of what 18 was, and 18 going undefeated, and 19 coming in and, just wanting not to be bad. They wanted to be top half, and then they wound up winning the whole thing, regular season and the conference championship, to go to the NCAAs, becoming the first Salve men's soccer team to sweep. Previous teams that had been the 1 seed had lost in the tournament, and teams who had won the tournament had never been the 1 seed. So 19 swept. They're all unique in their own ways. They all had, a great deal of personality to them as a roster and individuals. The only common thread really throughout them is me. And honestly, it's like picking your favorite child in many ways.
Yeah.
It's something you don't do. They each are special in their own private respects. So no, I really can't pick a favorite. I'll just stick with fall. Fall is my favorite season
Fall's
to
your favorite
coach.
season. So it's kind of a similar question then, and I'd say instead of forcing you to pick a player, pick what are the characteristics of some of your favorite players? Like what makes and it doesn't, obviously I'm sure your favorite players would be, hey, the kid who scores like 30 goals. Yeah, love him. But, what would make a favorite player for Craig O'Rourke?
If I ever found one that scored 30 goals in a season, he would definitely be my favorite, because those are more than rare. That's like finding Sasquatch riding the purple unicorn. The ones who get along the best with me have a definitive soccer IQ, and they understand the game, because then they're on the same level with me, and we don't have to argue about nuances and trivial matters, because we can see the big picture. So fundamentally, having a soccer IQ, having a degree of maturity, and recognizing that while we take it extremely seriously, also seeing it for what it is. As I always tell my wife, my job is an overglorified after-school activity. As I tell my guys, hey, we're not curing cancer here. But if they take it seriously, if they're mature about it, if they have a soccer IQ and can understand what I'm trying to do throughout the phases of the season, from preseason to early season to mid-season to postseason, and then also take it seriously throughout the year and take care of their off-the-field work with their classes and their weight room, and just becoming bigger, better, stronger athletes to make themselves bigger, better, stronger soccer players, then that's a common thread for all of my favorite players. I like the guys who come in as freshmen and are different as sophomores. And by different, I mean that they've done the physical maturing of getting in the weight room and packing on the beneficial weight, the muscle mass and whatnot. And then their junior year, they're even bigger and stronger than their senior year. And as I'm saying this, I think back, one of the best examples I always use is my 2009 recruiting class. I brought in a 137-pound string bean with my number 1 overall recruiting spot. And that year, the second assistant position was a URI grad named Kevin Algozer. And the freshman in question was a young man from Vernon, Connecticut named Jacob Brigandy. And I always talk up the recruits and, brief the staff on what to expect going into preseason. And I said, this kid's got the fastest feet I've ever seen. He's lightning quick. He steps into the tackle, can win the ball, and immediately execute out of it. And Coach Algozer said that's true after watching Brigandy for, 7-8 days. He said, Coach, he may have the fastest feet, but unfortunately, all that talent is in the body of a 10-year-old little girl. And he was right. He was dramatically undersized. And Gando always said to me, I want the center of the park. And I always told him, I'll put you in the center of the park and you can show me I can put you there and you're not going to get killed. And for his freshman and sophomore year, he played on the perimeter. He was a whiff, executing out of a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-2-3-1. he sat out wide on the flank, and he didn't want that. He always told me he would be the best center mid I'd ever seen or ever had in the program if I put him in the center of the pitch. And it wasn't until his junior year when he packed on an additional 10 pounds. And then his senior year, when on top of that, he added another 7-8 pounds, that he got up to being a 155-pound man playing college men's soccer. And he went on to be, all conference, all New England selection. His plaque hangs on the wall in the office, on the wall of honor. And he now is regarded as one of the best captains ever in program history for leading a dramatically young roster. More than 65% of our roster in 12 are freshmen and sophomores. And he, along with Robert, Big Bobby Ernst, captained that team to the NCAAs. And, Gando doing that, really showed his maturity. And he always had the soccer IQ. He came in with a brilliant soccer IQ. He's one of the few players who probably, in terms of a win-loss record with me and arguing, he probably has more wins than losses. He used to come in the office and, tell me the way the program was going to be conducted and operate. He used to, that roster probably thought he was more the head coach than I was. I was just the figurehead, the mascot, the guy who barked at the refs. Gando, get the dog back on the leash. But then, and then the opposite of Jake is 180-pound, what we call the hayseed, who I recruited the year before him, the 2008 recruiting class. We brought the hayseed in from Ohio. And this was great because his reference was John Bloom. And John Bloom was the head coach of Ohio State. And I called Johnny on this kid and said, John, what can you tell me about this kid? And he said, Craig, great kid, great family, but I got to warn you, I've seen milk turn faster. And what that essentially means is, it takes milk about 2 weeks to turn and go sour. And this kid was being recruited as a striker, back to goal, big 6'1", 180-pound frame. But if you played into his feet with the ball and he had back to frame, he would take about 2 weeks to turn and be able to go at the opponent's goal. So I recruited him despite that fact and brought him into the program. And after his best friend screamed at me to get him off the field at Nichols one day, I finally figured out to put him in a position where he wouldn't have to turn. And I played him as a junior and as a senior as a center back, where the entire game was in front of him. Yeah. Using that, at the time, he recruited 6'1". By that point, he was 6'2", going on 6'3". And he graduated as a 220-pound, 6'3" center back. He was just massive. He looked out of place. The football team would constantly try to recruit him in the offseason to be a tight end for them. And he would go tell him to pound sand, and no one talked back to him because he was just big and scary like that. And he is another one who, bought into the weight room. Now he's a professional CrossFit trainer. Every alumni who's listening knows I'm talking about Ian Gentian. And he was another one. He had the soccer IQ, had the mentality, had the maturity, invested in the offseason. And to this day, I still get along great with Ian. I'm pretty sure that we just got a sizable donation during the most recent gift-giving campaign. Probably the check will have his name on it. And he's another one that, frankly, came in and hangs in the office. The goal of this office, they come in as boys, they leave as men. He, like Gando and countless others, definitely grew up over their 4 years and won more games than they lost while doing it.
Awesome. Craig, love getting your thoughts, your insights. Story time with Craig. I love flashing back. So Thank you for taking the time here today. Glad you're doing well, and we'll catch up with you again next week.
Yeah, so hopefully Ed forgives me for the Raiders reference, but I'll talk to you next week, Andrew.
Take it easy, Craig. That's Craig O'Rourke II, the head coach of our men's soccer team. We're going to take a short break and be right back with our producers to wrap up today's show. Don't go anywhere.
So you want to be a Seahawk? Let's make sure you wash your hands, keep your distance, wear your mask, and love your Seahawks.
Sammy, no mask?
Come on, Sammy. I know it's pumpkin spice season, but you can't bring drinks to class.
We have simple rules here, Sammy. Get out. Come back when you can follow them.
You gotta take care of yourself and others, even if you are Sammy the Seahawk.
Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli. Want to bring in the producers now, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, to help round out today's programming. Fellas, I'd like to get first your thoughts on anything our guests had to say here today. But first, before we do that, I think we need to start a GoFundMe here for Joey so he can get a new camera. Or can you 3D print yourself a new camera? Like, come
If
on.
you didn't say anything, no one would know. It's. I just need to buy a new camera. It just sometimes disconnects. I think it's the cord. I'll figure out how to fix it.
How old's the camera?
Not that old. That's the problem. It's not that old. I don't know, man.
Anyway, what did you fellas have? Any thoughts from our guests here today?
I still half think Coach Martin may have been making that story up. That's too unbelievable. The guy just drove away with his tree on the back of their car. Yeah, if you weren't in the.
I mean, he name dropped. We know the person. We could call them up and ask. I mean, we can fact check this. Detective Morelli, get on it.
I think what's important is gotta say where it was. That's what makes a difference. What's
the details?
Yeah, because there are people I can think there are towns in Connecticut where it's if you did that, it's yeah, people would just take it.
Just drive. I mean, it's not like it's not their fault. They just had it on. They just had it on the back of their car.
This isn't my tree.
Joey, you'd have to call and pose as some sort of Christmas survey person. Have you ever had a Christmas tree stolen from you? Has somebody ever put it on the wrong car and driven away? And we'll get the
That's
answers.
a commercial for some sort of lawyers. Has this ever happened to you? Or it's
you may be eligible for this class action suit against people who had their Christmas trees put on the wrong car.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts from our guests here today?
Yeah, I was thinking, it was something when Coach O'Rourke was saying, and then I realized that all the coaches kind of do this. It's I'm sure you and maybe even Mike, you guys don't even think about this because you guys are already involved in athletics, but Coach O'Rourke's just naming off players from teams from 10 years ago. These coaches know their teams. They still remember the names of all their players from back when they started, and that's awesome. That they still remember all these people. I'm sure if we gave him enough time, Coach O'Rourke could write us down the starting lineup of every season he's ever coached.
Yeah, it's just the things you're passionate about. I mean, I'm sure, I know things. I know stats and stories of games that happened 30 years before I was born, and I can recall these things because it's what I'm passionate about. I'm sure somebody who's a big sci-fi fan can name every single side character in the Lord of the Rings. It's everybody has those things that they can just recall. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it is impressive. Those guys, that's why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it proves that they care about the players and stuff. It's a big family.
Yeah. What other news and tidbits? Maybe I think Mike, you had something you teased for us at the beginning of the program.
Yeah, since I had teased this at the beginning, I do want to bring it in with my Christmas to follow my Christmas story reference. In Oklahoma, they actually did this. So they made a 40-foot.
Is this the third monolith? Is this the third monolith we were waiting for?
And also, I was getting there. This is in addition to the other two monoliths that have been put up across the country. No, this is just to honor one of the most beloved Christmas stories. Unironic stories ever. So I just thought I'd share this here. This is awesome. I really wish they would do this around here or in a parade or something because that is just that's iconic. I love
how it even says fragile on the box there. That makes it.
Exactly. They added the little details we were just talking. The details really matter. They got them all incorporated there. Let me find the name of this town quick just so I can.
I feel bad. I don't remember the leg lamp.
Chikasha. Chickasha,
it's
Oklahoma.
inflatable.
Oklahoma.
It is inflatable, Joey. You can see the wrinkles here.
No, I didn't notice that. I'm saying the description. I'm not that smart. No, I just looked at it says an inflatable statue. I feel like they could have made.
We'll have to ask sports information. One of our work study student extraordinaires, Grace Murphy, if this is near where she lives in Oklahoma. We'll have to find out. Yeah. Maybe we can get boots on the ground reporting live from Chickasha, Oklahoma.
I think we could. I'll fly out there to see that. That's awesome.
We need a weather
Major
report
award.
from Chickasha right now, Mike.
Yeah,
I
I'll get
type
down
it
there.
in to try to like find where it is, but I can't spell that word from just hearing it. I'm not gonna be able to figure it out.
We could do the math on how long it would take to run there and how long it would take that 10-year-old to get there if running a mile every
If
day
he runs a mile every 10 minutes,
at his pace.
and I don't know.
Anyways, any other further stories?
Yeah,
Joey, do you have anything
I
interesting?
have something that I found. Finally, some good news. Not the Newport Daily News doesn't have good news, just not happy news. In the past couple of days, finally some happy news. There's a $475,000 grant to help expand services for Newport County homeless, and it's like they've been working on like getting this grant for a while, and it's gonna do a ton, like almost $500,000. That's a lot of money, and they're using it to provide more housing services, increase capacity at the different shelters in Newport. Lots of really good stuff in here that they're gonna be using for a lot of focus on mental health, which is nice. Like they're spending, I think they say in here like how much % of it is probably going to mental health. And there is a thing in here that I'll mention, not that any of us are, but hey, maybe someone listening is a local landlord. It says local landlords are encouraged to contact Newport Mental Health if they're interested in partnering with the agency to provide 12-month lease for homeless people and receive guaranteed market rate rents in return. So,
Wow.
if you have open spaces, especially now with like not a lot of tourist people coming in, like they can rent their place out and not only like make them, it's helping landlords who aren't making money from like not having tourists, and also it goes to a good cause, and like they're making a real impact in the community, so it's like a win-win situation for everyone.
Awesome. Really great story.
Yeah.
Fellas, great work today. I'm going to let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Friday to round out the week.
That's it. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
All right, that's Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. I want to thank our guests here today. We had Kevin Gilmartin, Sebastian Nordzi, and Craig O'Rourke II. Again, we are live every single day, 3 to 4 p.m. on the Salve Athletics Network. That is through Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope on Twitter. You can like, follow, and subscribe to all those platforms to never miss a show. Go back and watch any past episode of the show, and you can also take Seahawk Talk on the go with the Seahawk Talk podcast through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcasts. That'll do it for us here today, folks. I'm Ada Pizzelli. Have a good afternoon.